late for me. I have titanium in that already.
I will take a roll call for the open workshop. It is 6 p.m. Trustee Cruden is here. Trustee Desmond is here. Trustee Finnerty is here. Trustee Garlick is here. Trustee Lawande is absent. Munoz is absent. Trustee Ryan is here. Vice President Wilbeck is absent, and President Broderick is here. Just some housekeeping. And I really need you to pay attention on this one. If you're going to the school board's convention, you would have received an email, thank you for registering for 2017 workshop. You have to print this page. Chrissy can't do it, I can't do it, Laura can't do it. You have to print this page, and you need to present this page when you have to register at school boards. Don't ask me, it's a new system they put in place this year. It's probably going to be the last time they do this because I'm expecting nothing but a headache. But I wish I could help you, but if you get down there and you didn't print this page, it's going to be a headache. So please go into your emails. You'll see it from school boards. The beginning says, thank you for registering. Just print that page, and then you need to present that when you do your in-site registration. And then there's also in your packets here, there's a list of some events on Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on what days you might be there. Okay, so that's that.
Excuse me, Dr. Mayor,
yes.
On that topic, we are to assume, therefore, what's being hosted at Harrison High School is not going to fulfill the requirement for governance 2?
No.
Okay, thank you.
No. The only way to satisfy governance are New Jersey School Board governance courses, whether it be governance 1, 2, 3, or 4. And as I said, those are being offered. Let the record show Trustee Munoz is with us. Okay. All right, I'll start at the beginning. Obviously, our approval of minutes, acceptance of communications. You'll see there's 2 retirements. There's 2 resignations, and that is all we have for this month. And that'll take us to the consent agenda. We'll start with curriculum. The curriculum committee did meet, so I will quickly go through the resolutions. Unless someone has a problem, just stop me. Resolution 1, adopt the revised policy, regs, and bylaws. This was sent to you about 2 weeks ago, very large packet. If someone wants a written copy, I do have a couple if you need it. Resolutions 2 to 9 are staff to attend assorted workshops. And then that would bring us to Resolution 10, which is a field trip for the senior class trip. Resolution 11 and 12, there are contracts with one of our staff members, Beth Brano. It is a one-on in-home parent training. 13 is a contract with hybrid learning for behaviorists. 14 was an agreement with High Scope, and this is for consultants for pre-K. Thank you, Dr. Degnan. Okay, 15, Foundation for Education Administration. Then we have 2 workshops by staff development workshops on 16 and 17. 18 is agreement Elevate Educators. This is for another workshop. Like I said, these are all the resolutions that you received at home. Contract with Management Evaluation Associates. They're going to analyze our test results.
We also provide PD for our grades.
Yeah.
Right. They're also providing professional development for our 6th grade math teachers.
Let's try this.
Yes, trustee. We also
There you
provide professional development for our math teachers.
20 was, we have New Jersey CUSAC coming up. 21, I'd like Dr. Degnan to just spend a minute on 20 and 20, well, 21 and 22 are DPRs and our SOAs, just the trustees that weren't in the meeting.
Right, just to bring everybody up to speed, CUSAC is our accountability monitoring. Every year we must put in an SOA, which is a statement of assurance, which I gave you in 5 areas. It's in curriculum and instruction, governance, operation, personnel, and fiscal. That is submitted every year. The other component is something known as a district performance review, or DPR, and the DPR is submitted once every 3 years. This is the year that we're going through a full CUSAC review. So we did meet with the committee to look at all our DPRs. We did present it to the curriculum committee. We did score, and we have all our scores in there. I think we shared it with you last week to review, and if anybody has any questions, I can gladly answer them.
Okay, moving ahead, A23 is our Bayonne School District Strategic Plan. Resolution 24 went before Curriculum and the Finance Committee, so most of the trustees, this is an Algebra 1 refresher course, which we're going to give. 25, every year we do a Memorandum of Understanding with Bayonne Head Start. And once again, I'll ask Dr. Degnan on 826, just to bring everybody up to date, our school board goals, which we went over, I believe, in August.
Yes, in August, I know that Dr. Wanko reached out to you and talked about board goals, and everybody did respond. I worked with Dr. Wanko in the cabinet to look at what you thought was important for this board to look at. I think one was fiscal responsibility, another one was accountability, and the last one was technology. So you were looking at transparency between the boards and committees, fiscal responsibility, and of course, working on Google Docs and Drive to get up to speed with what we have in our district. And again, Dr. May is in charge of governance, and this is a best practice for CUSAC. So we like to be able to show the monitors when they come in that the board does have a vision, and these are the goals that we talked about in August, and we shared with you last week.
Can we go back to 24?
Sure.
And just to, Dr. Degnan, maybe you could explain who's taking that and why a little bit. I think it's important.
Just want to remind the trustees that the cohort of 2021, Algebra 1 is a graduation requirement. So we did have some students in 8th grade last year that did pass the algebra course. However, they did not meet expectations on algebra, which was a score of 4 or a 5. The state came out with guidance and said that we must provide multiple measures for those students to be successful in Algebra 1. There were also some students that did transfer into our grade 9 that did not take part, but they are now in the cohort of 2021. So we identified 60 students. What we will do is we will provide a teacher in the morning and a teacher in the afternoon for groups of 20 students to come in and receive this refresher course. The next step would be that we would have to provide them the part. There is a fall block. There are some school districts that have a block scheduling, so they take algebra in the first half and geometry in the second half. What we would do is we would offer them that opportunity in mid-January to take the part. If they're successful, that's good. If not, what we can do is we can move to the summer and they would have another opportunity. We have to remember that this year, everybody's in the cohort of 2021. And then we also have to, next year they would be in the English 10. English 10 is a graduation requirement. Also this evening, I'm just going to talk a little bit about how our staff, how our students did last year, but that's a separate resolution. Right, Question? Trustee?
On the Head Start one, can you explain, I mean, this is basically like an interlocal.
Yeah.
What is the relationship responsibility of the money?
It is for pre-K services.
I believe, Trustee, that's the federal program for the Head Start, and then we have our state-funded pre-K. Theirs is a half day, and then we have and then they provide half-day services here with us at the Board of Ed.
Are they our teachers?
No.
Do we provide any funding to it?
No, our teachers are here, the ones that are in a half day.
No, for the Head Start. We're just doing an interlocal just to have them provide their teachers and the program for Bayonne students.
But the money
They're like-
funnels through the Board of
That's what I want,
Education.
yes. Okay.
And I'll make a copy of this for you before you leave tonight. It's
All
got
right.
the background on it.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're looking for something, I won't throw anything on top. Thank you.
As I'm getting ready to start with budget and finance, I just would like the board and the public to know, the board, at the last board meeting, announced that they would release as much of a draft resolution and agenda to the website 48 hours in advance. So I'd like to let everybody know we did do that. Every resolution that I had did go up, okay? And I did get some feedback from the public that sent me a few emails thanking us for that, and they appreciated the fact that the board is being as transparent as they could. We'll start now with budget and finance. Obviously, B1 is our monthly money received. B2 is our required reports, which were all sent home. Most of the reports were September 2017, and then the board secretary, custodian of school monies, we're all caught up now, so July, August, and September. So everything is now current. B3 is claims and accounts, our monthly resolution. Then we had a carryover for ESEA and No Child Left Behind. Then we had a sale of solar Rex on B5. You saw a resolution for appropriation transfers for the 16-17 school budget. Every year, the board is required to, on B7, to establish a maximum travel expenditure resolution, which we are doing. Then we had 4 resolutions of placement of handicapped pupils. Then we had applied for a safety grant, and this is our acceptance of the grant. We were awarded $54,240.78. It's health and safety, and this is to replace district doors. B13,
I have a question that.
yes, go ahead.
Just, there was a total amount, I believe, of $54,000. I think the quote for the door was $9,000. What happens to the
That was
remainder?
one of the door projects.
Okay.
There's a total list project which will add up to
In order
$52,000.
to apply for the grant, trustee, we have to name specific projects. 2 years ago, we did a parking lot. A year prior to that, we did the entranceway to one of the schools. So this year, we got together last year when we put the paperwork together for this, and there were some doors in need of replacement in and around the district. Some outside doors, but most specifically, and you're going to see a resolution for this, that you're probably signing a purchase order for about $9,800 for Midtown Community School, the doorway that splits the gym in half. And we discussed that in finance last week, and we thought it appropriate to get that taken care of, because as you know, if Bayonne High School were to evacuate, we would go to Midtown Community School. That would be one of the areas. When the PAL and Midtown Community School are holding after-school activities, we now can divide that gym with a purpose, so to speak, so they don't mix. As Dr. Wanko said in finance, if we have a scheduling problem where we have a kindergarten or first grade on one side of the room and 7th and 8th graders on the other side, we can now divide that so they don't run into each other. So we're happy to do it. The door is the original split doorway that was installed when the building was built about 26 years ago. It's taken some bumps and bruises over the years, and quite ironically, if we were to replace it, as was one of the suggestions, with a curtain that you see in a lot of these bigger sports complex, the curtain was more money than actually fixing the door. So
That's not my question.
Yeah.
As I recall, I don't have it right in front of me, the total cost was, let's just round it off to 10. It's like, it was 9,000 something. However, we have 54.
54, those are gonna go to door, on 30th
That's my
Street,
question.
There's an exit fire door, a double doorway that needs to be replaced.
Okay.
There's some doors in and around the district that are in dire need of replacement through years of wear and tear.
This is all for doors?
Yes, it's all for doors.
Okay, thank
And
you.
we've just applied for the next round, and the curriculum and the, not curriculum, excuse me, the Buildings and Grounds Committee can come up with a suggestion as to where to utilize the next round of safety grants. We're doing the initial paperwork right now.
Okay, thank you.
But these doors are being replaced as a safety
Yes.
project.
No,
Yes.
That's the requirement of the grant.
Also, just do it, down at the ice rink, we have a curtain
Or
that comes
retail, I
down.
should say.
And it works as far as balls going into it and that kind of thing. But as far as sound goes, the sound is everywhere. So this would decrease the sound. So it would be two rooms that have separate, and you'd be able to hear people. So I think that's a big plus
Well,
also.
that project in Midtown, I just want to thank Dr. Wenko and Mr. Smith and the Facilities Committee for actually addressing that, because that one partition has been an issue for a couple of years, and I know we haven't had the funds to do it, so having that grant really is a good thing, and just thank you for showing attention to that particular need. Okay?
Moving ahead, B13 is a resolution to purchase website software, $11,560 from Mr. Fugu. And then B14, we did an RFP. This had gone before the Personnel Committee and was reviewed. And after that review, it's being awarded to Source for Teachers since they received the highest weighted score amongst the proposers. And there was a survey that was done by the committee and central office, and the results of that resulted in this bid being awarded, RFP being awarded. So any questions on budget or finance?
Source for Teachers. I know some districts have used them previously and have had some issues. This is about the substitute teachers, right?
Yes.
Right. I know some districts in our area have had issues with Source for Teachers and actually one of the other firms that were bidding on the contract. So I was just wondering, were we going to reach out to them and see what their issues were to try to avoid that kind of problem happening here in this district?
That probably should have happened earlier.
Already done that.
Okay.
We also
Well,
have
I'd like
people
to-
be available to answer questions that you might have
Okay.
that are specific.
Okay, good. So that's okay.
Yeah. If there is a specific question, we can get it answered for you.
Well, I mean, are they giving a presentation?
No, because
Not
we've
just
already.
questions.
They did a
They
presentation
did already.
to the committee.
Okay.
But they're here to answer questions. If there is a question that's.
Should we do it now, or would we do it after the next section?
Well, I would do it
I would do it
Now.
once.
now.
Okay.
I don't think there's going to be many questions, so.
I have one question. And
But we'll let them reintroduce themselves and
I'm sorry.
fire away.
It's just a simple question. With regard to substitute teachers, I know that one can substitute if one has 60 credits. Got that. That's allowed. Where one can substitute if you're certified, do you make a distinction in salary as to someone who has just the 60 credits and somebody who's certificated in the position that they're teaching? Is there,
It is tiered, a tier pricing, yes. Somebody that has 60 college credits versus somebody that's teacher certified. Yes, we can do it, but we actually ask you guys of how you guys want that done. If you guys want us to do a tier for somebody that has $60 credits, we'll say $80 versus the $85 for somebody that's certified. Yes, we can do it, but we don't do it as an organization. We let the district decide if you guys want to do that.
so it's a district decision, not a
Correct.
company decision?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Could you explain a little bit about I know teachers are concerned about the quality of subs that they would get, and possibly somebody that they like, that somebody has come in and done a very good job where they were absent, and they'd like to get that person back. How do we have control with that, or is there a way of doing that?
Good evening. My name is Noelle Baglava. I'm the Vice President of Source for Teachers and ESS for New Jersey. Thank you for letting us be here to answer your questions. The great tool about Source for Teachers and ESS is that the teachers do have control over who's coming into their program or into their classrooms when it's somebody that they like. They have a preferred list that they can put in. It can be ranked, so they can say, you know, I really love these 5 substitutes who come all the time. They know my kids. They know what they're doing. I like Noelle the best, so I want her to be number 1. Or they can open it up and just put them all in there as they'd like. What that does is give those substitutes on that preferred list visibility to the assignment before it gets opened up to the general pool. So if, you know, Mrs. Smith puts in the assignment on Tuesday, let's say on Wednesday, nobody else is going to see the assignment except for her preferred substitutes. And then as it's getting closer to the day, that window gets smaller. If all of her preferred substitutes are working in other jobs or unable to work, it will then open up to the general pool so that everybody can see it to get filled. There's also building rankings. So not only does the teacher have the opportunity to choose who he or she wants in the classroom through the preferred list, a principal can say, I really love these top 10 to be in my building all the time. And it works the same way with that kind of tier. As the assignment gets closer, the window gets smaller for the preferred lists. We also have great tools where they can nominate. We do substitute of the month. We do substitute of the year. We give things, you know, all kinds of different things away. Usually, last year we gave away a smart TV to our substitute of the year. So we have a whole mechanism where we like good feedback because we all don't spend enough time telling each other good things that we do. So there's always the opportunity for that too.
Casey, cut you off, but can
Sorry.
you just talk about how a teacher would notify in the system that you use? Our district is still using an answering machine, and teachers call out in the morning from 6 o'clock. And then we have one person not only taking those calls, but assigning substitutes. So can you just talk about the system that you use?
Of course, sorry. So the system we use is an automated online system. It is available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year at all times through an 800 number or online. So anytime a teacher needs to call out or put an absence in, they can do so through an 800 number, and they have a user ID and PIN that's associated to just them. All of their information is preloaded into the system, or they can go online and do it very easily. It's a really super simple system, couple of buttons, very easy to use. And then on the flip side, the substitutes are able to go in the same way. They can either call in and find out what's available for them to pick up, or they're able to also log on, again, any time of the night or day, and be able to see the assignments that are available. Now, there are restraints, if needed, that can be put in place. If you don't want your teachers to be able to put in absences so close to the start of their time, then they have to reach out to us to do so, or reach out to a campus user. It's very customizable when it comes to that. If we want to ensure that substitutes are not, you know, calling out of an absence, they get a flat tire on the way here, we want to make sure that everybody's notified in the right means. Our call center, they can't just go into the system and cancel it themselves. They have to talk to somebody. They have to call our office. So depending on what you need as your specifics for Bayonne, there's some restraints that we can put in place also.
And the person that has been handling this for the past year would stay on staff with us, but you would give the board compensation for her salary and benefits. That's correct.
Correct. So we're saving enough money where it's going to offset her salary benefits right now. Because last year, if we did this program in here, we would have saved your district $121,000, and currently she's receiving $35,000 plus benefits. So we would actually offset her salary and also save the district money in the process.
In case, one more issue that I just want to put on record is that all of our substitutes who are currently working will be hired by you.
Yes.
And also number 7 in the RFP says that you must be willing to allow the Bayonne Board of Education to interview and choose any staff placed pursuant to this contract. So
Correct.
We will have control.
100%. This is still your program, so if you don't like a substitute, we will not hire or put them in the district.
And so the Bayonne pool of subs is our first
First right away for yes.
And if that pool cannot supply the substitute say like a physics teacher, let's just say we don't have one available, then perhaps then you would reach out to other personnel that you may have within your control and send them in. But first priority is our Bayonne pool.
100%. And in addition to that, when we do find somebody that's outside your pool, we're going to bring them to you so you guys can interview them and see who do you want in that position. We're not saying this person's going in. You guys have that final right of refusal to see who goes in that position. But all your current employees will be guaranteed employment with Source for Teachers. And not only will they be guaranteed employment, we're also going to give them health benefits, 401k plan. They have the ability to collect unemployment. We pay weekly. They get incentive programs. So we have a lot of benefits that we can offer your substitutes that you currently do not do. So that's why our retention rate when we partner with school districts come over to us, because we offer so much more and they're working in the same classrooms with the same teachers in the same school district.
How many staff do you have available to you besides our pool? So let's say we have, I'm just saying, let's say we have 200 teachers call out one day because of something like an illness or a bug going around. Would you have the manpower to cover all that?
We have a few thousand substitutes in the state of New
Okay, fair
Jersey.
enough. That's what I'm
I mean,
asking.
I pulled Hudson County applicant numbers this morning just out of curiosity. We only do a couple charter schools in this area, so Hudson County isn't a huge pipeline for us, and we're currently working 80 candidates already in October. So I mean,
And the example that you used about the flat tire coming in and all that, I could see that could happen, especially with the construction on the bridge over here. That being said, if they do, let's say they get an assignment, they're on their way in, it's 8:10, you know, they're close to the school, they get a flat tire. Will you send someone out to replace them?
we do look to replace somebody. We also have, we try to be proactive in those situations. We have a lot of programs in place that once we're able, you know, if we are awarded and able to make this all happen, we do permanent substitutes or building-based substitutes that are specifically assigned the morning of. Instead of, you know, they've already committed to being here, and then they're for those. They're for those exact scenarios with the flat tire or the sick kid or the reason on why they might not be getting there that day, and then they get assigned into those morning slots. So we've learned to be proactive and make sure that we have enough staff available.
Yeah, so a district your size will probably send a few individuals here regardless whether there's an absence for instance like that. So we have somebody on site if somebody gets a flat tire or a late call out or something like that. And if you can't use those individuals, we actually send them home and we pay them. We absorb that cost.
That's why we have the permanent subs for the flat tire issue.
Yeah.
Correct.
And you have
We never
floaters,
know,
so yes.
but they're on site. They're on site every day. Are they not? Yeah, that's for the flat tire.
That remains.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They'll stay.
Correct.
I don't think that's going to be.
And if we can't use them, they get sent home and you incur the cost?
Correct, if we have the permanent substitutes come, yes.
We will use them.
No, I'm just, you know. All right.
Casey, I know that we're going to use the pool that we have. But can you just talk a little bit about how you recruit locally and how you want to hire Bayonne residents?
Yeah, make no doubt about it. When we have over 125 partner districts in New Jersey, every single one of them do it differently. And how we really base our recruiting efforts is in the community. We're not going to try to get Englewood subs to come here. We really want to recruit Bayonne substitutes. That's why we partner with a lot of college and universities around here. That's community college, NJCU. So there's a lot of local college and universities that we do recruit these substitutes because we're looking for people that live here in the community. That's very important to us, and that's why we're very successful through our partnerships. And we also actually want to be a part of the Bayonne Education Foundation as well, because we want to, you know, you guys have the Party of the Point. Like, we want to be part of these fundraisers, things that you do.
The food is good.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's a big part of what we do in developing our partnerships, you know, especially year over year, is getting involved in the community. Different family fun events, you know, the spring and fall, the festivals that are happening. You know, if we have an opportunity to set up a table, not only are we supporting the organization by paying for the table and being there, you know, we might not get 100 candidates out of it, but it's word of mouth. It's getting to know the people. A lot of time councilmen are there. A lot of time all of you guys are there. It's important for us to be visible and be able to build that relationship so that this does continue year over year. And we are looking to bring in people who want to be here, understand Bayonne, know what the children require, can work with the teachers. It's important to us.
One other thing, and the only reason why because I was directly involved, I am on the personnel committee, but I'd like the full complement of the board to understand this. If we're not satisfied, they may not want to hear this. If we are not satisfied, am I right, Mr. Kovaz, with Source for Teachers, we can opt out. We can totally opt out, what, within 60 days?
That's 60 days.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, but right now, we're looking at, to 2020. If we're happy, we're contracted at this particular price until 2020. But like Trustee Munoz, if we're not happy, it's like, no, this is not working for us. Thank you very, very much, but it's not working for us. So it's not like we're locked in. I'm kind of liking that idea as well.
That is correct.
That's why you're on that group.
I have a question. I came up a little late. How do you guys get paid?
So we bill on top of your pay rate. So whatever, the district right now pays 85 for, we'll just do daily sub, and then we put a markup on top of that, and we quoted the district at 26.9 of that. That encompasses our ASOP, our recruiting, employer taxes, encompasses everything.
So you get, so we pay 85 plus 26.9.
Correct. But at the end of the day, I mean, we can go down the financial road, is where we save the district money is your long terms. Because your long terms, when after 60 days, you have to put them on step one of the teacher guide. We don't, we're a private organization, we're gonna keep them at the 130, 140, whatever we decide to put that long-term person at. And the good news about the long-term, if you like that individual at the end of their long-term assignment, you guys can hire them full-time and we don't charge for that. So why a lot of districts use this, because it's almost like an interview process. You know, if you think you want a math and science teacher, you could put them in a long-term with us, not pay the step one teacher guy, almost like interview them, and if you like that individual at the end, you can, or in the middle, you can hire that person full-time.
Mr. Kovats, just quickly explain to Trustee Lawandi, that there's a state ruling here that if we have a substitute teacher in a position for longer than, is it?
60 days.
60 days, we are compelled by law to hire them at step one. Now, if we do source for teachers, we don't have to do that. Source for teachers,
Right.
we're not compelled by the law to give them a step one contract.
Right, and just for clarification, how much is step one?
55,000 trust.
55. So if after 60 days, we'd have to pay them 55, I'm sorry, it's more of a internal, $55,000, but no benefits, correct?
Right.
Right. So by doing this, this would save us more money in the long run by not having to pay 55.
Yeah, but how many teachers?
But they do get benefits, too.
How many did we pay last year?
Is it true?
The 55,000.
I believe there were about 8 or 9, I think we looked up.
It varies on year, on a year-to-year basis. That's a number that we cannot project. We don't know who's going to go out on maternity or family leave.
What they're gonna pay for our lady who calls and gets the substitute, they're paying her medical and they're paying herself.
That's all up front one.
It's a very good
Yeah,
arrangement.
but what's usually the average for subs every day? How many subs do we usually have every day?
Depends on the day,
Depends on the
time of year.
season, depends if the Super Bowl was just on, there's a lot of factors.
Weather.
More going to Broadway plays.
Okay, so what's the total that we paid for subs last year? And then I'll divide it by 85 and I'll tell you the average.
$2 million,
$2 million?
correct?
Just under 1,985,038 approximately.
Divided by 85?
The calculator's on in your head, right? I can see it.
You have that number already, don't you? Come on.
Once again, if you would like me to pull it from the consent agenda and move it to non-consent, I'll do that. Just give me
I'm fine
some
with
sort
it.
of direction, because the clock is ticking,
I'm fine with
folks.
it.
Somebody here will be information.
I'm saying, if somebody wants to vote no, I'll be happy to pull it and put it on non-consent.
Is that something you'd like, Mike?
I will move it to non-consent. Thank you.
One quick question. What can you expect, how can we expect our fill rate to go as far as with you or without you? Can we expect to have more substitutes available in your past history?
Yes,
They
absolutely.
gave
Every time we go into a district, we see
presentation over a
about
month
12
ago.
to 15%
They provided us
increase.
information. They
So there'll
did
be
the
12,
calculations,
15%
which we
fewer
also got,
uncovered absences.
and
Correct.
It's not
Minimum.
new to most of us.
Especially with an automated,
Oh, sorry.
sorry, especially with an automated system.
Well, and what's going to happen? We're going to have teachers, we're going to have students who will not be getting instruction. And that's the main thing.
So I will move it,
I'm in
I will
favor of
move
it.
it to non-consent, and if anyone wants to vote no, they may.
I'm in favor of it.
Are we staying for the public meeting? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, if you don't mind.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna move ahead to the personnel section. Yes, I'm sorry.
I just had one question on the finance, and that was, can anybody, Mr. Smith or Matt, give us an update on the status of any of the audits that are going on or pending to go on?
The auditors are still here. The state auditors are still with us down the hallway. They have indicated that in all likelihood they will be around for another 2 weeks, at which time they will call for an exit conference, and we will talk with them, and then they will put out a final report. So,
is there any request that they have made that we have not adhered to or given documentation?
Absolutely not. We've given them everything that they've asked for. They've gone back as far as 2007 to get a timeline and a baseline in all accounts and areas, and they're moving on. They have told us that their next stop is Richfield Park, so they're going there.
Quite frankly, they, in essence, left at one point to give a report.
Right.
And were sent back because nothing was found, and now they're going back many more years.
Well,
Nobody wants to fess up about never sending money our way to begin with, but I'm glad to know that everybody is working in tandem with them to try and find resolution. I look forward to the exit interview.
The second audit, the CAFRA audit, do we have a status on that?
our auditors, Donahue, Gironda, Doria, and Tompkins, have been in-house since we closed out last year, which was probably late August, early September. They've been on board. They've been going through the books. They've been monitoring the cafeteria accounts and all associated accounts, and hopefully we will have a report for them by early December. We were also notified by the county today, when you speak about auditing, Trustee Garelick, that our mid-year budget review will take place. We have to have our information up to the county by mid to late December, and we will sit down up in the county office probably sometime in early January of 2018. So that's what's on the horizon right now.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Moving along with personnel, C1 and C2 are going to be for inside. C3, like I said, these were, I will let you know what wasn't sent home, but C3 was sent home, personnel to community ed. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Kopaz because we're going to do C4, 5, and 6 in a block. With our harassment, intimidation, bullying report for the month, for the year, and there's a special week.
Thanks, Don. In accordance with the Bayonne Board of Education Policy 5512, an incident of harassment, intimidation, and bullying has been reported and investigated at Bayonne High School on September 28, 2017. There was no confirmed evidence of the investigated act of HIB. Strategies, resources, and remedial measures were implemented. All documentation is being retained by the anti-bullying coordinator. That's the only case we have for October. Next up is our violence and vandalism report, which we will be talking about later with Dr. Wanko. And then C6, twice a year. As you remember last year, we have to report. This is part of the statute. I have the results for you. Dr. Maida will hand them out if you have any questions. This is from January to June of 2016-17. So there's 2 periods of time where we need to report, one being from September to December and then from January to June. Okay, moving ahead,
And I just remind everybody, the Personnel Committee, Trustees Finnerty and Ryan did meet with us, and we went over all of these resolutions. Brings us to C7, Personnel, the Title I. C8, Personnel, the Parent Workshops. C9, additional staff to curriculum writing. C10 is our 100-book challenge. C11 is facilitators to the Professional Learning Community Project. 12 is additions to home instruction. And 13 and 14 are going to be for inside. Now, the packages I did send home to the trustees. I moved 2 resolutions from personnel, and I moved them to non-consent, and I'd like to go over those. I've labeled those D, and the only reason they were moved is because there was a conflict with one of the trustees, so being a consent agenda, we decided to move it. So coaches and advisors is D1, and D2 is our list of personnel to various positions. And like I said, normally these would just be on our curriculum, but because of the conflict, we moved it. There is an addition that I have to hand out that's been added to the agenda. It really should be on a consent, but since I didn't want to screw up the agenda, I just left it on non-consent. As I hand these out, I'm going to ask Dr. Degnan to discuss it. While you have a chance to see this resolution, because this is new.
And Doctor, if you could hand this out so they have that.
Sure, I work my way around the room.
Okay, I have to, this is some information that's due for Park graduation. This is due October 27th to the state, but our meeting's tonight on the 19th, so I just want to go through some of the data. And Dr. Maida's handing it out to you. And pursuant to the code, the chief school administrator must report graduation results by pathway to the school board at a public meeting. Thus, in accordance with the New Jersey Department of Education, the following statistics are provided. So in 2016-17, students that graduated through the PARCC test, you see we have 228. Students that graduated through substitute competency test, that's 66. Now the substitute competency tests are the ACT, the SAT, the ASVAB, and the AccuPlacer tests. Students that graduated through the portfolio appeals process, we have 21. Students that graduated through specified requirements in their IEP is 48. Students that graduated through the multiple pathways, English language, arts, and math, are 214. And students denied graduation last year is 2, for a total of students that graduated 579 out of a total 581. What's important to note here is that students denied graduation only because failure to pass PARCC assessment, substitute competency test, or portfolio appeals was 0. So everybody that was eligible to graduate did graduate because, and I'd like to thank the board, you did provide the constructed response task last year. We had that program for the portfolio appeals, and as soon as we got the data back, we had our English language arts teachers, and they met after school, and we sent the state the report. So this is some data that I had to share with you regarding the PARCC graduation pathways.
One thing I think you should also emphasize here, that the graduation rate for this year, well, actually, last year, did improve over the year before.
Yes, and I know that Mr. Kopaz worked on that before I did, and we worked closely with our NJ Smart data and our transitional counselor in the high school, and of course the Bayonne High School team. And we were at 81%, and we are now a little bit over 85%. And that does help us on CUSAC because it puts us in a different tier. So we do pick up a point for CUSAC. So
So changing the passing grade from a 65 to a 70 didn't really have that major impact that people were anticipating, that our graduation rate would drop.
Right,
It
our
actually did
graduation-
not.
It did not, correct.
Thank you.
Yes. Any questions about the data?
Good point, Trustee.
Okay, at
Thank
this
you.
time, I am done with my part of the agenda for outside. I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
Thank you, Dr. Maida. Good evening, everyone. As you know, we've only had about 6 weeks of school, but it is past my 100 days, and I gave you a first 100-day plan when I first arrived. I gave you a workshop. I sent you an email which explained where we are in each of those target areas, which covered budget, curriculum, IT, board goals, hiring and firing, facilities, middle states, accreditation. Part of the plan was to present my vision and then a vision for the district of where we would go with our strategic plan. As you know, I've changed the format for that, and we've done that collectively at our first team leadership meeting. Here we're looking at core curricular areas, unique challenges to our district, and Dr. Degnan can give you a brief summary, an overview of the highlights of the plan and status for the first quarter, because we've just done that first quarter review.
Yes, and I think that Dr. Wanko, we had the process was to put the leadership team in place. In August, we did meet as a team, and we thought, first you had to look back and say, hey, where are we right now, looking at the data that we have in front of us, and saying, well, where do we want to be in the future? And that was like our essential question, our guiding question, where do we want to be as a district? And we looked at our 4 priority areas. And the areas were student achievement, professional development, 21st century technology, and of course, operations and fiscal. And then what we did was the second step was to take our supervisors, directors, principals, and vice principals and put them into what we know as professional learning communities or committees, and with their expertise to sit down and say, okay, what are some of the things that we want to do in these specific areas? What are we really going to look at? And we wanted to make sure that it went with our district goals and our district professional development plan, but it was also aligned with what CUSAC expectations were, and also with ESSA and federal guidelines. And I think we talked about this in August, and particularly when you look at student achievement, we think attendance was something that this board thought was important, and that was something that we looked at. And I know right now, actually, my daughter came home with the certificate that said that she had perfect attendance for September. So we were going to do attendance was something that we were going to look at. We didn't want students to be out more than 15 days, and we were on target with that. So we are sharing the data every month with our principals. And that was an example of something that we've looked at in student achievement. Another area is something that's very important that is aligned with CUSAC is response to intervention or a multiple system tiered of supports. What do we do as teachers in the regular ed program? What do we do first before we send students out to INRS or special education? What are the tricks that we can do? And then moving from there. And I think I spoke last month and given a status update, we did have a meeting with representatives from PSA, a former assistant commissioner, and they were going to come in and we were going to look at K-2 response to intervention, a program of tiered supports for students, especially in English language arts. So if you can read, then you can actually would assist with the math. So we'll be looking there. Again, in technology, with the one-to-one, we want to continue working with that. Some other things that we had, I wanted to highlight. Mentoring for our younger teachers was something that we're looking at with respect to staff development. And then another area in our operations was looking at transportation and a way that we can find some funding. And we looked again at our aftercare, and the team just looked and he said, you know what? The aftercare wasn't used as much, so we were able to find savings there. So if you're looking at, some of these things are ongoing, but that's the idea behind the strategic plan. We did have our first quarter leadership meeting, and we will meet again in February and again in April, and we will have I will report to you each month. I am not sure, we did share it, Dr. Wanko did share it with you, and I hope you had an opportunity to look at it. I think the best part of this, and talking about good to great, is that flywheel effect. The directors, the supervisors, and the principals did a wonderful job with this executive summary. They really took the time to say, what is the picture of our district? What are the unique challenges that we were facing? Okay, you look in there, is there concerns with limited English proficient students, are economically disadvantaged? And then we also looked at each area, each content area, so what can we do in our area specifically to improve or inform instruction? And there was a section on that. And then finally, we looked at assessment and how we're sharing that data with our teachers. And that's something that, again, CUSAC will be looking at. I know Trustee Garlick was with us when we went to the last go-around, and it was all about what are you doing for your subgroups? What are you doing for your race, your gender? What are you doing to improve instruction for economic disadvantage, special needs, at risk? And then that's what we're going to tie this plan together. And I thank Dr. Wanko and the cabinet for their vision. And if the board has any questions, I do have copies for you, but it was sent. It was sent home electronically. And that was your goal, electronic.
I have one, I always have a question, you know that. I know that we had a big controversy with the decentralization of the academy. Any feedback on that?
No, I have not had any negative feedback. I think everything is working well. I think...
no student has been denied their special courses or anything like that?
Not that I am personally aware of.
Okay, thank you.
I know that one of my pet peeves is make sure that anyone that's having difficulty would be dealt with quickly. And I've spoke to Dr. Wanko, and I know that you guys are working on programs and actually instituted programs where as soon as this first, area of, progress report went out, that, people are being put in, and not only being put in, but teachers are being requested to say, just don't go to this math center. Here's where you're going to the math. This student needs this, so I think that's a big improvement in dealing with the problem.
President Broderick, in the plan, there is an area that talks about the tutorials that are provided and how we would support. We do have our transitional counselor, and then we also had a wonderful conversation with some of the directors about students that are involved in clubs and activities and sports, and what are we here first and foremost for is the education. So if we can get our coaches on board and we can have our deans talk to those students about making the right choices, we let them know what is important in their lives. So.
Well, it's a give and take thing, because I think several of our students, the idea of I remember when I was in school, being on a team was pretty important to me, so going to school and making sure I passed was also important, even if I didn't realize it at the time that was the important part. So if we can work back and forth with the coaches and the teachers, I think it's a very good item.
I thank Dr. Degnan. I also like to thank the leadership team. They really put a lot of hard work into this. And as President Broderick said, we had that discussion where now when you go to a tutorial, you're actually getting a prescription from the teacher who is sending you there so that we can target your needs and get that scaffolding done quicker so that you can get back on track.
See that word, prescription, how much better that sounded?
No, and also targeted. These are words we use, and it's important because it works.
So, I've been continuing with Mr. Kopes to monitor arrivals at schools. We're trying to get a handle on this, and this month we have reviewed Lincoln, Midtown, Vroom, Robinson, Lincoln, and Washington schools. Some of the issues have been parents believe there's an entitlement in Bayonne that you're allowed to stop in the middle of the street to allow your child to enter the school, even if they're crossing 3 lanes of traffic.
When did that change?
It didn't change yet, but our idea was to take a first-hand look. We meet early in the morning, we go out with the principal, we watch what's going on, the principal tells us where there are some concerns. After we finish all the schools, we will then meet with all the stakeholders and try to develop plans that we can have safe and orderly arrivals and dismissals at the schools. That being said, that's my segue to its School Violence Awareness Week, where Mr. Kopes will discuss activities, lessons, drills, and his recent observations of not only school safety teams, but the school safety drills as well. Mr. Kopes?
Thank you, Superintendent. As stated in Resolution C6 earlier, the Bayonne Board of Education is designating this week as School Violence Awareness Week, as every other public school across the state will be doing the same. All of our schools have been participating in grade-appropriate lessons and activities all week long. I've also been visiting our school safety teams at each building, and the meetings have been informative, and we have received great suggestions from the teams. Today, the Bayonne Police Department observed the school safety drill, which was a lockdown at Bayonne High School and Washington Community School. Both drills were flawless, and I commend Principal Baccarella, Principal Becker, and the staff and students at both schools for a job well done. Also, the Bayonne Police Department visited Bailey School today to give a presentation to the grade 6, 7, and 8 students to discuss bullying and school safety. This presentation was also a success, and Officer Booker will be scheduling presentations to visit the other elementary schools as well. So we've had a fine week, and I'd also like to applaud Renee Bush, who is our Director of Guidance and Pupil Services. She has set up these trainings, lessons, and presentations with our guidance counselors. So thank you, Mrs. Bush, as well.
Great choice, and Officer Booker, too.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Mr.
Excellent.
Copeland. We conducted our first pre-K lottery, and we streamed it live almost. We had our version of Yolanda Vega, who pressed our button to start the lottery, and everything was going very smooth, except a message came up, processing. The special ed portion of the lottery went very well. Everything happened the way it should happen. What we're being told is one of the little buckets that's inside sort of had a virus that was preventing it from allowing the material to go out. We are getting a certification from the company that everything is correct. Everyone got their notification within 7 minutes to 4 hours. The 4 hours is the outlier that should not have happened. We expected it to be populated instantly so that everyone would know right away. However, if you looked at social media, the parents who were on there, that they did receive their emails from us notifying that their child was selected, and they could either accept or reject, and then where you are on the list for the waiting list to move up. So they seem very happy. They understand that these things happen because I'm sure it's happened to all of us when you've been on a computer and it's processing or the circles are spinning. However, this was a service that we had contracted for, and I let them know we were not very happy with that wait time. The process was pristine. We're getting that certificate. Everything is above board and correct. However, there was a time lag of up to 4 hours, which should not have been. The company, therefore, is giving us a 100% refund, but still providing the service for the rest of the year. So, actually, Yolanda did well. Thank you. I would, yeah. Also, at this point, I'd like Mr. Smith to go over the facilities portion of the pre-K, because that was a lot of work to get everything ready. We had a very short span of time. He'll also share some information on the solar project, the safety grant as well, and the extending feeding program that I wanted to bring into the district has been slowed down a bit because of the natural disasters and just what happened in Puerto Rico lately, so the food banks have been depleted. So he's going to bring us up to date on that. Mr. Smith?
We have a certificate from New Jersey School Group Insurance Group, the New Jersey Educational Insurance Fund. Mr. Broderick, if you don't pay attention to the back, they gave me 2 certificates, one for another school, but we didn't get the money for the one on the back. We got the $54,000, and that is due to our constant vigilance on our insurances, whether it be workman's comp, auto liability, our property insurance, our student insurance, our claims experience modules. Those numbers are coming down, and so we are being awarded for doing a good job in the areas of our insurance with rebates like this, and we started the process for next year's safety grants already. In regards to the solar project at the ice rink, as you may or may not remember, about 18 months ago, we had a flash fire on the lower roof of the ice rink. It was probably caused by debris. If you remember when you're a kid, you took a magnifying glass and you held it over a bunch of leaves, and well, that's probably what happened up there. We were reimbursed totally by the insurance company for about $450,000. At finance the other day, we discussed replacing those panels that have been out of service but not going over the amount of the settlement. If there were 200 panels up there and now we can only get 180, well, that's what we'll do. We also have a quote to get them back up to code. In 2014, there was a new code put in because what was happening with solar panels that do catch fire occasionally, shut-offs are sometimes hundreds of yards away in the converter room. So now with the new code, there has to be a shut-off every 20 or 30 feet in the area of those panels. So if fire personnel go up on the roof to fight a fire and they hit that fire with water, they can turn those panels off ahead of time. They're still not generating electricity. So we're happy to be able to start that particular project. We recently sold some solar renewable energy credits to the tune of $147,000. Money coming into the district. That's one of the resolutions in your packet tonight that we're accepting that money. We sold 831 solar wrecks, as we call them, for $177 a piece. 7 years ago, they were $600 a piece. The market has since been glutted. You see solar panels all over the place, so what we're getting back on them is not what we were getting. In fact, last spring, I believe we got $234 per wreck. They've sort of leveled out, but they haven't dropped to where they were about a year and a half ago, $96. So we're happy to get these funds to do much needed good within the district. Dr. Wanko talked about the feeding program. The New Jersey Food Bank, we were partnering with them to hit 10% of our students who are on the master eligibility list, those students in dire need. The program works where they would get a packet of food to take home over weekends, extended breaks, holidays, things like that. But because of so many natural disasters within the last 6 to 8 weeks between Florida and Texas with those hurricanes and Puerto Rico, a lot of the donations to that food bank have been diverted. So they've pushed us back to mid to late November. We're hoping to get this program working. Our principals are on board, and once we get it up and running, we will report back to you. This is a dynamic program. As you know, we do a universal breakfast where every student gets a breakfast in the district. We feed about 62% of our students are free and/or reduced, which means they qualify financially, and we're anxious to get this program going. So once it's up, I will report on it. And last but not least, the PEA grant, the preschool extended, that we got the paperwork in early August, around August 7th or August 8th, with a timeline of 2 weeks later, whether or not we were going to apply. Dr. Wanko's eyes lit up. He said, we're applying. We're going to get this going. We have, with Mike Kubert, Superintendent of Buildings and Grounds, and his crew, we have renovated 5 classrooms in the district in 5 different schools. We are finishing up at Washington School, which was the most challenging of it because we had to split a room to make an office on one side, move a smaller class into the other side, and then open up a preschool room on the other side of the building. Furniture has been arriving at the sites, which are Henry Harris, Broome School, Lincoln Community School, Midtown Community School, and Washington Community School. We already have a program, full-day program up and running in Nicholas Oresco School. So those rooms will all be done. The state is coming in on October 30th to do a site visit, to walk through our buildings. And again, I can't give enough credit to our buildings and grounds guys who got into those rooms, spruced them up, painted them up. They are now in the process of putting furniture together. When you deal with preschool children, you know, they're 2 foot high, so everything needs to be changed. Small toilets, small sinks in the rooms, furniture, little furniture, and it's really eye-opening. But when we reach these students at those age levels, it does wonders for them. And so I'm happy to be a part of it, and good things happening in the district. So any other information that you need or might want, I'm always open for questions. Yes, Trustee
Mr.
Carroll.
Smith, I have a question. Last year, when we were going through some of the financial difficulties, we looked at one of the funds that we had earmarked for construction in the district, and we had earmarked roughly $3 million that we were looking to change into the general operating fund. That never took place, but we still have.
Right.
Could you give us a
3.6
status report?
Yeah, Trustee Gerlich is talking about the ROD grants, and ROD stands for Regular Operating District, of which Bayonne is. We had put money aside back in June of 2014, I believe, to do a bunch of security-related projects throughout the district. We had thought that when we went into the deficit, we could move that funding over. We were told by the SDA, the School Development Authority, that we could do it, that we got further clarification from the Department of Education. We actually went down to Trenton and sat with them. They said that we could not use that money. That money was earmarked for special projects, and that we would have to do those projects. So what we're doing now, we will be doing the roof on the main building at Bayonne High School, because that money was earmarked for that, and we will be doing a roofing project at Washington School, which has been a continual problem. As you know, we do have solar panels on those particular roofs, so we'll be getting 2 bids on those roofs, one to take the panels off, and one to do the roof and then put the panels back. So the architects have been in district the last couple of days. They've been walking the roofs, getting their dimensions down, and then we will go out for a request for proposal for those roofing projects. And there are a couple more projects, safety orientated by the ROD grants. A window project at at Washington Community School is also in the works with that ROD grant money. So we're going to utilize that and do the necessary things that we need to do in a district where our buildings average about 85 years of age.
But one of the advantages is also we would get matching state funds for our money to provide for
For
those
every
projects.
dollar that we spend, we get 59.8% back from the state once all of our paperwork is in. So that's a bonus. So we're doing these projects for basically 4 cents, 40 cents on the dollar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I met with Mr. Pat Improvato. He's the regional coordinator for Middle States, and Mr. Baccarella on Monday. We've identified 3 internal coordinators for the process, and we will begin developing our committee shortly. The self-evaluation process will take probably from 12 to 18 months to complete before we will regain our accreditation. So that has begun, and we are very happy to get that project moving. Yes?
The cost to do that, the cost to get accreditation, I'm sorry.
You pay an annual fee, which is a membership fee. And I'm just giving you numbers from a last district I was in that was for the total project of bringing in. It used to be you would bring in about 25 people for a school of this size for 3 days who would do that evaluation process. That has changed. Now it will be a group of perhaps 5 to 7 people that come in. So we will only have to give accommodations for 2 or 3 nights for that small amount of people. And to my best recollection, the last time I did this in another district, the total cost was somewhere under $6,000 or a little bit over $6,000 to be accredited.
There was a time, however, Dr. Wanko, as I recall, that we were accredited by Middle States.
We were a charter member of Middle States and have continually held accreditation from its inception until 2012.
I know, because I was on one of the committees, and it
And
was...
you did a very good job, I remember.
Why did we lose it in 2012?
There's a process that you have to go through, same with the hospitals, that you have to be recertified, and the district at that time decided not to go through the process.
That's why I asked about the cost of this.
Now, would going through CUSAC, to some degree, help us with the Middle States evaluation?
Sure.
I mean, having all that stuff in place.
And vice versa.
Well, CUSAC is sooner than Middle States.
Right, but the information we gather is going to help us for Middle States.
Right.
The committees we're putting together for Middle States is going to help us, because we're starting now.
Oh, we are.
Yes.
There you go. Thank you.
All right, so I was honored to be the speaker at Midtown Community School PTO. We had a very fine attendance, and I presented the mission and vision of the district and conducted a question and answer session. Additionally, I presented certificates to the Midtown students for their election to student council. That was done a week prior to that, and then today I had the pleasure of doing the same thing at Woodrow Wilson School. That concludes my report, unless there's any questions. Thank you.
Okay, at that time, we will adjourn for a closed session for legal, personnel, negotiation items.
Where did we get these
It
nice
is
pens from?
7:16.